Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Strong Women series. I am so thrilled to have Ghenaida Slack on our call today. She is an ambassador of self-love. She is a worship leader. Hello, I wish I had that gift. And she's also a makeup artist, but she's an owner of her own company called Glam Mommy Makeup Artistry. And I am just happy to have her here because she was actually recommended through our Swag Instagram page. So prior to this call, we did not know each other. And so this is awesome. This is exactly what I love, just making these connections with other strong women. And the person who connected us actually was Angie Ogando, who we interviewed very early on during this series. So I'm just so grateful for her, and shout out to Angie. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, Maxine. I'm so thankful to meet you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you today. And I'm also very grateful to Angie. Shout out to Angie, who is an amazing friend, amazing woman of God, and she is also now my mentor. So I'm just grateful. All these connections were absolutely a gift from the Lord, definitely.
Absolutely. And I love that. I think that we just need to do a better job at connecting with one another and letting people know that we're here. So thank you again. Hey, I always love starting with people's names. I think there's so much history, so much power there behind it. So tell us a little bit about your name. Do you like it? Do you love it? What does it mean?
I actually do love my name. I think it's so unique. It's so different. I'm actually a junior. My mom's name is Ghenaida as well. And I did ask her about the name, and she said that my grandfather had picked the name. So he created this name. And I did a little background and found that this name seemed to have been derived from Greece. And yeah, it was so unique to the name. And the name really stands for like honor and loyalty, which is everything that I'm about. So it was really great looking into my name and just trying to figure out, what does your name mean? And to find out that it means those two things that I am all about was awesome. It was really great.
That's beautiful. And I love it. I was actually asking you, like, how do we pronounce it? We were going back and forth, and I was like, Ghenaida. It's not Ghenaida. Oh, like, yeah, you get it. Awesome. So, hey, I'm excited to learn about your journey with God. I don't know anything about it, so I'm hearing it for the first time too. So tell me, what has that been like for you?
Wow. Well, my journey with the Lord started at the age of 15. I've always, as a child, gone to church with my grandmother. You know, people say I had a praying grandmother. I had a praying grandmother who would dress me up and take me to church with her. And we would go worship and praise the Lord. But my personal journey with the Lord started at 15. And at 15 years old, I had experienced something very difficult that I don't think any 15-year-old is prepared for, which is making a decision to not want to be a young parent. And because of that decision, it followed me through the years of my teenage years into young womanhood. And I was always kind of seeking answers from people and not seeking those answers from the Lord. And there were so many times where I went through rejection. I went through not feeling worthy, not understanding why that decision had to be made. Also, not living in my truth. I was not living in my truth for so many years. I was ashamed. I was afraid to tell people of the decisions that I had to make. And it wasn't the only decision that I had to make. There were many other decisions that came after that where I was placed in the same situation, feeling like, here I am, I'm a woman, and I'm a woman who has not been able to be a mom more than one time, and feeling like, what is really my purpose? if it's not that, right? And seeing so many women around you having the gift to say, I am a mom, here are my children, but you are not that person. You have not been that person. So that was really difficult for me. And when I was maybe about 25, I had met pastor and his wife, and I was so grateful to them because they were the first people that God sent me. I truly believe that God speaks to you through people, right? And through situations. And they were the first two people that really helped me to understand that the Lord was not trying to punish me, that the Lord was not looking to forsake me, that those experiences and that pain that I had faced at such a young age were going to be experiences that I was going to share with other women that were going to empower and uplift them. And that was the first time I actually had my encounter with the Lord, because I had went into a deep seeking of the Lord. I took 5 years of my life to learn about the Lord, learn about his word, learn about the Bible, learn about my personal relationship with him. And all those years just helped me to really become strong in who I was and who I knew God was. And even after years, I still faced many adversities with personal relationships. And never once did I feel like, after I knew who the Lord was, I never felt like I was deserving of anything that came to me. It was more like, okay, Lord, I'm going to accept that you're closing that door because there's a great new door that's about to open for me. And you have something so much greater. You have better opportunities, better experiences, but I'm going to move on from those experiences and not hold resentment and grudges. And learning that not every situation and not every person is meant for you at that time. You know, they're in passing, you embrace them, but if it doesn't work out, move on, be forgiving, set yourself free, heal, and just move on and embrace what he has for you. So it's been an amazing journey of trust. And when I meet others, I always like to just share with them that there's nothing that you're not going through that he hasn't prepared for you to deal with. And you just have to trust that there's a new season. There's something great about to happen. This is why you're dealing with adversity. You're gonna have a great experience and lesson from it. So just trust the Lord. And it's definitely been all about trust in my journey with God.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much for being so transparent with something I know that is sometimes difficult to share. I think especially within this community, there's so much, I think, like you're right, shame surrounding these things. And so we sometimes don't offer the best support for women who are making these decisions, who are going through this process, and just hearing that there is redemption still to be had, still to be worked through it, and forgiveness in that space as well. So, geez, thank you so much. And I think it's an important conversation. I think we forget that there are people attached to these stories sometimes, and we have to do a better job at humanizing people and understanding what leads people to certain decisions too. I think that's a big piece of what we have to do within our walk. So thank you so much for sharing.
That's actually a great point that you made, Maxine, about understanding that there are people, because there were people in my journey that I had to forgive, that I was feeling like, you probably could have talked me out of these decisions, or you could have been more supportive, or you probably could have prayed for me more, or why weren't you there when I needed you? There was just so many things that I sat back and thought about that could have had me build all this bitterness and resentment towards them. And I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that, because it was important for me to be in harmony and in peace with myself. And just, again, trusting that the Lord already knew these decisions were going to be made. He already knew what was going to happen in my life. And I just had to trust that those decisions were in fact those decisions, and I just had to move on from them. And I didn't want to be bitter. I did not want to hold grudges or resentment. So the forgiveness journey, it did come a little later. I was not holding grudges, but I was not willing to fully forgive so soon, because I still felt like they had a responsibility with some of the decisions that were made. But ultimately, that forgiveness came from me to them, and it was the most freeing experience ever. And most people that know me, they're like, "You're always so happy. You're always full of joy." And I'm like, yeah, because I've just learned to lift my burdens to God and just trust every decision that He makes for me. So it's a very freeing experience.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you said something that really I want to stop and highlight in, because it sounds like, I'm so happy that you were able to forgive people, but it sounds like you were saying, hey, if I had had more support in this area, I would have made a different decision.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think that is so huge in the way that we go about working with young women who are finding themselves at that crossroad, right? And trying to figure out, do I continue this pregnancy? Do I end it? And, as much as, of course, it burdens our hearts, it's still a life. We need to be there for people. We need to be there for people, for sure. And I think that we would see a lot of change in that area if people had more support. So, geez,
especially after they've experienced that loss. That's when the support is needed the most. And I found that at many times they didn't know, they wouldn't say anything, and I could understand they just were not sure about what to say. But that's the time when you need that comfort. You need those words. You need to know that you're not alone and you're not dealing with this loss by yourself. And again, just being understanding as well, because I'm always that way. I'm always like, well, don't fault them. They probably didn't know what to say to you, but I'm sure they were supporting you, praying behind the scenes, and absolutely were there in their own unique way. But you're right, the support is so needed. And I know I had that from my family, I did. But I'm not gonna lie, I wish it would have been a little more support. I think that it would have helped me, but that was the time where I just had to really spend more time with the Lord, just continuously asking Him for strength. Like, God, you have to get me through this. I'm accepting of what has happened, but I'm also going to rely on you for that strength, because right now my family is supportive, but I don't think they really know how much support I need. So I need it to come from you. Get me through this.
Yeah. For someone who's watching who maybe has a friend going through this or a family member, when you say you could have used more support, what specific things would have been helpful for you during that time, do you think?
Definitely just some random check-ins, like, how are you? How are you feeling? Are you okay? Is there anything that I maybe could do or say? I think it's just knowing that there's a concern for how you're doing, because that situation for many women can put them in a very depressive state. Really, really, really put you in a corner where you will isolate yourself from family and just from people in general, where you feel like sometimes you may not want to live anymore, because here you are, you were like in one situation that my last experience, I actually was, I'm going to be very transparent right now, because I have to live in my truth, because I know this is going to help someone. So I was literally 7 months pregnant. I was 7 months pregnant, and I was actually visiting a really close friend of mine, and I was in her home. I had fell asleep, and I woke up. I was having some pain, and just to make a long story very short, I ended up in the emergency room on this visit. And what ended up happening was that I had experienced a miscarriage. And when I woke up, my first reaction was, is my child okay? Is everything okay? And here I see her father walking to me with her, and I'm just grabbing my heart like, Lord, thank you. I'm glad everything is fine. And then he tells me she didn't make it. So my expectation was, here I am, I'm getting ready to give birth. I'm feeling like, all these different decisions that happened in the past and what happened. I'm like, finally, Lord, you're blessing me. And here he is walking towards me with a lifeless child that I had to hold and embrace. And most people have asked me that know what I went through. They said to me, well, how did you not feel like you wanted to just die after that? And I said, it's really hard to explain, but I just trusted God. And instead of taking that situation and really putting myself in a state of just the worst depression ever, I took that opportunity and I looked at the gratitude. I was grateful. And I said, Lord, you gave me the opportunity. You chose me to be her mom for 7 months. And it was the most beautiful pregnancy ever. It was just the most beautiful pregnancy. And to see her and just to see that he chose me and gave me her for 7 months, I was so grateful to God. And that right there is what helped me to want to continue living life and want to continue seeking purpose. And I knew that devastating situation was going to be something that I one day would have to speak to many women about. And here we are. And to be able to speak my truth, to be able to share that story is, again, so liberating, because I know so many women that have experienced that. And I met many women that experienced that. Probably not exactly my situation, because it was a very rare situation that most women do not live through that. And that was just another reason why I know that my purpose here was more than just to be a mom. Yeah. My purpose really was, I think, to help women, to encourage them to trust God through every situation. He is not here to shame you, forsake you. Your purpose is so much greater than what it probably appears like.
Wow.
So,
what a testimony. Man, thank you so much for sharing that. And I agree with you. I know that there are women who have been through miscarriages who they're at a loss right now, and
yeah.
There is a space where, we do need to grieve, for loss of life. But I think that your perspective is so beautiful, understanding like that you got to be this child's mom for 7 months, and, wow, that's just whole nother level. So, man, you started talking a bit about this in terms of seeking purpose, but can you expand on some of the other areas that you're working out, sort of the mission that you feel like God has put in your heart, and what does that look like, some of the gifts that you've been given?
Sure. I definitely think that as women, we do experience so many different situations that help us lose ourselves, just help us lose our self-confidence, our ability to see our worth. There's just so many different situations that we go through where we just lose ourselves. And when I started realizing that makeup, let's just say, in regards to my business, makeup is such a powerful tool. And, makeup was not shunned in the Bible. I think that that's a misconception, that makeup was shunned, because there were many women in the Bible, like Esther, the queen of Persia. She accepted beauty treatments when she was getting ready to become the queen, of Persia. And there were so many women who adorned themselves with jewelry. But I think the most important thing was that women needed to understand that what God wanted was to know that they feared him and that they would remain humble. So that is one of the things that I really, really like to bring to the attention of women. It's okay to adorn yourself. Look beautiful. God bless you with all this natural beauty. But be a woman that is fearful of the Lord. You will be praised. He will reward your humbleness and your humility. That is definitely one of the things that I tie in, beauty and humility. I think that's just a beautiful combination of being a beautiful person inside and out, and knowing who the center is of your life. I have had the opportunity recently to be a worship leader for the Lord, and that came out of the sky. I really did not ever see that. God really just surprised me with that. And I've always had the gift of song, and he's gifted me with that creativeness. But for many years, even though I was singing for many other projects that were outside of singing for the Lord, there were so many opportunities that came my way, and they just didn't work. And I started understanding, like, okay, God, you gave me this gift. Obviously, it's not going to work here. What did you give it to me for? And then eventually I found my church, and I had prayed for years. I wanted to be a part of a choir. And before you know it, here I am. I'm worshiping God. I'm like, it's just the most amazing feeling to worship the Lord. And then to be asked to be a worship leader and to be the person that sets up a situation for everybody to come and worship. So again, it's that humility. Like, Lord, I still ask myself that question. You sure you want me to be the worship leader? You know how many issues I got? And he's like, yeah, you're the one, because I feel like God has just gave me I always say he gave me a special kind of heart. It's just a heart that's always trying to see beauty in everything. Even when the situation is bad, I'm like still trying to see beauty in the whole situation. And sometimes I've been labeled to be a little bit far-fetched. And I'm like, that's fine, because I know that there's something beautiful out of that ugly situation. Something awesome is going to come out of that. So all those little things I feel is my purpose. Taking an individual or taking a situation and seeing maybe the mess that they see and showing them a different perspective. There's beauty in this mess. It's beautiful. It's going to work out. And this is possibly how you should look at it too. So I really feel like that is the healing that I try to bring to every situation and every person that I encounter through my beauty, through my worship, and just through my message of self-love.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. You brought up some points that I hadn't even ever considered before, but about Esther and the Bible and adorning herself. And I think you're spot on there. I think we confuse a lot of things because, God is after our heart for sure. And I think he knows that other things will come in and try to take his place, right? So we definitely see in our culture that, beauty standards, they have become an idol for some people, right? We're changing our whole bodies. We're changing our whole faces. We're changing everything about ourselves so that we no longer look like the creation that God has created us. And, and I think that the Bible is speaking to that too, and putting so much emphasis on our outer appearance and none on the inside. You're absolutely right. Like it's not about like, hey, don't wear makeup. There's something wrong inherently with makeup. It's the heart behind what you're doing,
Right. And spiritually feeding yourself too, because when you're spiritually feeding yourself, then you're going to feel whole, right? Because you're going to know that your worth is more than what you look like.
Yeah.
So maybe that's probably why, Maxine, we have so many women altering their natural God-given beauty, because we just need to be more spiritually fed. And the Bible has been a fascinating book for me to read, and I'm not completely done. I'm still learning so many things, but there's so many women in the Bible that I know if more of us were to really just read about Esther, read about Ruth, and just all the beautiful women in the Bible, we would find so much of us in them to understand what they stood for, and it was more than just that physical outer appearance or beauty.
Yeah, that's so true. It's funny because I'm thinking of, prior to me starting this walk with Christ, and I look at some of the pictures back then, from 5, 6 years ago, whenever it was. And, I looked nice. I was ready to go out. I was all dolled up and stuff. But then I would look at my eyes in those pictures and they were lifeless. And I know that people were like,
wow.
oh, are you just reading into things? I'm like, no, I can see my eyes. There was no life there. And I see that I'm smiling, but it's not my smile now. Like, I smile right now and I feel that I'm smiling with joy. Like it's coming from the inside out. Where back then I was posing for a picture and smiling.
Yes.
It wasn't my true inner smile. It was just like, I'm here, whatever. This looks nice, but not being fully present, fully alive yet. And so you see my pictures now and I'm like, oh my gosh, to me, in my mind anyway, it looks like I'm a different person because I am. From the inside coming out is a game changer.
It sure is. I really do believe that we all have a light that people see when they meet us. And I remember meeting someone for the first time. He's actually a worship leader at my church. He's an amazing worship leader. And I remember when they introduced me to him, the first thing that I saw was his light. It was shining so bright. It was like the sun was behind him. That's how bright his light was. And it just made me understand that when you're choosing to live life, I don't want to use the word, but it is what it is. When you're sinning, where you're constantly sinning and you're choosing to live outside of God's will, your light will dim. Yeah. So it's so important for us as women, especially, to just keep feeding ourselves, because God does want us to be whole. He does want us to somewhat pure, in what we do and how we live life. And I remember somebody telling me one day, choose wisely because you will dim your light. And I never forgot that. That is so true.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a quotable. Awesome. So, hey, we're going to wrap up a bit here, but are there any books or podcasts or TV shows or anything that you want to shout out that we should know about, that we should be listening or watching or reading?
Well, currently I am listening to a podcast by Lindsay Schwartz. It's called Powerhouse Women. And I love it because she really does talk about developing businesses and the mindset that you have to have. But she also uses a lot of her beliefs, spiritual beliefs, in how she addresses what we need to do to become powerhouse women. So her podcast has been really amazing for me to listen to, and I've learned so much from her. I am a big T.D. Jakes girl. I love T.D. Jakes. I mean, he is such a wise teacher of the word. So I encourage anyone to listen to him, read his books. There's so many people. My pastor, I want to shout out my pastor. He's one of the most amazing men of God who teaches the Bible, and he has taught me so much. If you would have asked me 5 years ago what I knew about anybody in the Bible, I probably would have said I don't know anything. But I've learned so much from him. He's an amazing pastor, Pastor Phil Davis. So, and Pastor Christina Davis, they're amazing pastors. And I've learned so much from them about just being humble, always seeking God and wanting to learn more, about who he is and the love that he wants us to experience and know about. So.
And what's the name of the church, just in case, someone might be looking for a church?
Oh, absolutely. It's called the Greater Shiloh Church in Easton, Pennsylvania. We would love to have you guys visit us. And we're currently online as well. We have online services every Sunday and Wednesdays. So Greater Shiloh.
Awesome. Well, hey, just really quickly, how do we get in contact with you if people want to kind of book you for services or just chat with you or ask you questions? What's the best way?
Sure. The best way to reach me would be through my social media at Glam Mommy Makeup Artistry. I am on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. And I also have my own website, which is www.glammommy.com.
Awesome. And we will drop those links in the video and in the comments as well, so you can go ahead and click on them. Thank you so much. This was powerful. And I just know it's going to touch people and it's going to reach so many women. So thank you so much for being open and honest and vulnerable and for spending some time with us here at SWAG. We so appreciate you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, Maxine. Thank you so much again for this opportunity. And thank you for being a part of me allowing myself to share my truth and walk into it. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And hey guys, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at strongwomen_of_God and hit subscribe on the YouTube channel so we can continue to spread this message out to other women who might need encouragement today. We love you and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.